So change is hard, right? Yeah? Anybody here like change? People like me are weird. I love change. I've had one wife for 21 years. We've had 9 addresses, right? 21 years. Two in Kentucky, 3 in Vegas, Michigan, back to Kentucky. That was a mistake. Chicago. Should have gone straight to Chicago to the condo. Chicago, now here. We're going to move again in December downtown. And I hate moving, but I love new. I love new. I love change. I like trying to figure out where Walgreens is, Walmart. I'm an idiot, I know. I mean, if it was up to me, thank you for that. If it was up to me, we'd have 4 seasons every month. Like the first week could be winter, then we could have spring, then we could have summer, and then we could have fall. It'd just continue. Of course, that would not sustain life on planet Earth. That would be a bad plan. But if it was up to me, that's how I would do it. Most of us don't like change. I was recently down in Texas with a church, and on their sign out front, it said service times, like a lot of church signs do, and it said 9 and 11:15 or something. And then under the times, in parentheses, it said January to March. And so I asked the pastor about that. I'm like, so what's up with the January to March thing? And he says, well, for a decade here, I planted the church, and for a decade we just, chased ourselves and trying to please everybody, right? Like we do in church. And for the last 15 years, we've been changing everything. So we've just come to expect that change is constant. It never stops. It never stops. That's how we move forward. So I started changing the service times because we were packed in the late hour, and I was trying to get people to move, and I had given them free donuts and paid them and everything, and they would not come to the 9. So I just started moving the service times 10 minutes here and there, and people got tired of me changing the service time, so I just had the dude that made the sign, now we announce them for the quarter of the year. And I thought that was brilliant, so I stole that. And every church I meet with, I act like it's my idea, and preachers think that's a brilliant thing, right? So the church has grown. It's a big church now. They're running 3,000 or something crazy. This pastor's like, I've been a pastor 25 years. One constant in our church is change. We hate it. Someday you're going to find yourself leading something. You probably already are, whether you're in high school or you're a student here, and you're going to have to bring change. Whether you're leading a church, a ministry, a band, a team that's combating sex slavery, homelessness in an urban environment, whatever you're leading, you'll have to bring change or it eventually dies. Because the call that you have, for those of you who are going to lead something, the call demands it. So we're going through change, right? At college. Everybody thought once we turned it red and went from 3 letters to 2 letters or something like that we were done. By the way, Calvary Christian Church found the other C. Have you seen that? Yes. The prodigal C. It's holed up over there at Calvary. It's awesome. Why do we change? Why? So hang with me. I'm from Kentucky, so I'm going to get into some numbers. And it's dangerous when you're from Kentucky to get into numbers. But I've told, if you've been around here more than a month, you've heard or you've read, hopefully you could recite this. There's 300,000 churches in America. How many are growing, Derek Beebe? How many? 10,000. Thank you for that. So 3% of churches in America are growing. You're familiar with that. But just yesterday, we're having lunch. A few of us were having lunch with a pastor here in town, and Mark Ashton. And he was sharing with us some other statistics and some dreams and some figuring that he had been working on. And, he was sitting here at the Institute thing a couple of weeks ago on our campus. And he said he liked Omaha because it's big enough to be a real city, but in terms of the gospel, advancing the gospel in a place like this, it's doable. So did you know there's about 850,000 people in the metro area? On a given Sunday, 9% of 850,000 are in a church, an evangelical kind of church. So let's assume, Mark says, let's assume that half the Christians are not there. That's kind of normal. Barna says if you go twice a month to church, you're a regular attender. I didn't say that was good. I just said it was normal. But that implies, with the most generous math, that there's 600,000 people in Metro Omaha who are not going to darken the door of a church. We would assume they are lost. So Mark talks about what it would take for Omaha to be a reached city. Like, what if the gospel could advance from 9% to just 18%? Like, 18% seems really low, right? Like, surely we could do more than that. But it seems doable. But if you take the projected growth of Omaha, if you just look back 40 years and what it's done, and all the city planners say it's just going to keep right on going, and you try to advance the gospel to the point that this would happen, it says we need something like 100,000 new converts to Christianity just in the next decade, and to facilitate those that are moving here, right? So hang with me, but if a standard people to staff ratio is 80 to 1. So show me a church of 200, they normally have a little over 2 staff. A church of 1,000 is going to have 10, right? A church of 5,000 has 50. 18% seems doable. So if we do 18% in this city in the next 20 years, if Omaha goes from 9, 10, up to 18%, which I have to believe that's doable. We need 1,600 fully prepared, highly desirable, hireable church leaders. 1,600. So we probably should write in, and we should assume a churn rate, Mark says, and we should dump another 1,600 in on top of the first 1,600, because a whole bunch of people are going to retire, they're going to quit, they're going to move away. So he says 3,200. He's sitting at whatever that bad Italian restaurant was, and he says, so I'm thinking it's like 3,200 leaders. And then Mark says, we hire about 3 a year out of our institute at Christ Community Church, which is awesome. Every church should do that, right? Every church should have an institute. So over the next 20 years, they're good for 60 of the 3,200. I don't know how many your church is good for, but that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of people, right? 60. But 3,200 leaders, not just graduates, right? But highly desirable, hireable leaders. So high school students who are here, what do you want to do with your life? That's what I would ask. We need you here. We haven't talked yet about Kansas City, Des Moines, Denver, the other side of the world. You know, we're just talking about little old Omaha, Lincoln, Norfolk, Third City, Kearney, Red Oak, Iowa. These are all places where most of those places, you can't get the number above 25%. So this is on us. This is on me. This is on people like Sasha, Jordan, if you choose to do it. So summer of 12, I was here doing some consulting before we moved here, and we said 100 fully prepared church leaders every year coming out of this school all across the country. And that's not even enough for Omaha, evidently. I guess we got to double down or something. We're from Vegas. We know what that means, Steve, right? So things have to change, right? We got to do things different. Let me add some things will never change. Serious study of God's Word, conservative teaching, the founding principles that this college was founded on, 69 years, staying true to the essentials, all that kind of stuff. But everything else is up for grab. I mean, everybody thinks the move to Omaha, this school, by the way, 7 years ago, this is our 7th year at this location, previously was in a town called Norfolk, Nebraska. Norfolk or Norfolk. Or Norfolk if you're from Virginia. I don't know how many times they moved right there, but you can read it on the wall out here. So this school has always done things to advance, right? Logos change, degrees change, culture changes, people change. But the main stuff is going to stay. For a group like us, for me, for staff, faculty, trustees, students, we have to become so discontent with the way things are. I don't know if you ever think about that. Like at 43, someday I will become discontent enough with the 30 pounds I should lose. Right, Kristen? That I will do something about it. We have to become uncomfortable with the 9% thing, the 18% thing. And that's why we need churches like that have done this. Leaders who are a great example. Stonebridge and First Christian Council Bluffs, Christ Community, Beautiful Savior, Coram Deo, City Light, Lifegate, Brookside, King of Kings, One Life in Plattsmouth, Thanksgiving Lutheran, Bridge Church, Salem Baptist, Dundee Presbyterian, Third City Christian in Grand Island, First Christian Norfolk, Calvary Chapel, West Omaha, Westside Baptist, Relevant, Faith Community in Red Oak, Bellevue Christian Center, Journey, Gretna, A2, Glad Tidings Discovery, Broomfield in Denver, Legacy Christian in Kansas City, and Calvary Christian right up the street. And all the ones I'm forgetting, all the ones I'm leaving out. These are the places that you're from. This is where you're going to serve, right? Right? It's where you're already doing it. These are the leaders that aren't accepting status quo. They're not satisfied. 9% or 10%. 18% sounds lame, but that's what we're going to aim at. These are men and women that are plowing ahead. They're just ahead of you by 5 years, a decade, 15 years. These are people like Steve Cuss from Discovery Church in Broomfield, who is going to tell us a story about a church that had to radically change, had to do things other churches would not do to reach people that other churches are not going to reach. We bring them down here, not because Steve has nothing else to do, but because we need to give you a vision and an idea. See, it doesn't stop with Steve, and it doesn't stop with Mark Ashton or Scott Beckenhauer. Like, who's the next Scott Beckenhauer? Who's the next Steve Cuss? Who is going to take Discovery whenever you're done with it in a decade or two? I don't know. Somebody better be learning the word today and be in tune with culture today to be ready in a decade or two, right? How long did it take you to get ready? It take a long time. I mean, there's a reason Dr. Krause won't let me in the classroom. It's because I teach you how to lead a church in 1997 in Las Vegas. That would not be helpful in Grand Island, Nebraska, to lead a church like we did in Vegas 20 years ago. Steve is doing it today. Lost people, messy Christians, messy people, right? Thrilled and honored that he's here. So things will continue to change. All for the kingdom. All for the kingdom. Right?